All right, so we're gonna record this video for how to go through the lab. All right, so let me just go back here. Just gonna close this and just log in, and we'll just open the labs here. Assignments, this one, and I'm going to just go through it. All right. So these are the steps that we're going to follow. First, you have the OpenStack overview, then your infrastructure deployment, the OpenStack dashboard, the command line, and then the intercloud web services. These are the 5 steps. I'm going to go through everyone and just follow the instructions here. You can click in every line here in the links. You can see more of the descriptions of some of the services, including the core, storage, share, and higher level services. This is also part of the OpenStack landscape. You can also go to the website and check in detail everything that you have in terms of the tools and for the client and for the operations as well. We're going to start the lab. You just click here and then log into Cloud Lab. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new experiment. I already have an experiment up and running. So I'm just going to go through it and show you something that is already running, but let me just go ahead and start the experiment here. We need to change the profile and look for the OpenStack one. OpenStack. So it has to be the one that says system. So this is the first topology that you're going to see here. And if you read here, you're going to see that there are certain types of basically profiles that can run this. And then the one that we are going to use is the OpenStack version. Is called SET. It's Ubuntu 22.04, and is the latest one that Cloud Lab provides for like running the experiment. There are also these other ones that are a little bit older, but I didn't test any of these, but I'm pretty sure this one is the latest one and the one that is working. So you can see it provides you with 2 nodes. One is for the controller and the other one for the computing node. And we just select this one. And then after that, again, you have the information here. You can read about it, and then you click next. We keep this set here, open up the advanced ones, and then you change here. You have the controller, the network manager, and the compute node. Then you just click next, and you just wait here until you get into the point where you have to decide for how long you want the experiment to run. So you put the name here. I'm going to call testing the project. I have 2 projects personally, but the one that you're going to see is probably just this one. Then you decide which of the group, this one, and then the cluster is going to be, I will say, just pick one that is green. So you can, if you put the cursor, like you can see how many pieces are available. So you can see this one has like a 28%, this one 7%, this one 70%, this one 10, 38, and this one 28. So I would recommend doing it like with the one that has more like computers available. So you can choose this Utah one. And then here, since we added another node, that's the change that you can see in the topology. So one of the questions from the lab, they ask you what is the change. So essentially, if you can provide like a screenshot of the previous and the next one after you make the change in the topology, that's going to be something that can be used. Then you just click next, and then you just keep it in the way it is, and then you finish. So this one is going to take you around 15 to 20 minutes. It takes a little bit because it's going to install everything that is needed for the 3 computing nodes. And Sometimes it also takes longer, like probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So I would say you just keep it in the way it is. And then since I have already something running, I'm just gonna go back and just click in, I think is just click here. And it says pending here. So this one has to change to running. And then you can also see here when it says the state booting, you have to wait till it gets to this point. When it uses all the configurations and settings for the 3 compute nodes that you are instantiating, and essentially it has to say here ready after everything is installed. So, all right, so the status changed very quickly here, and it says ready. So instead of saying run here, it has to tell you that all the computing nodes are terminated. So if you go back here, you can see the 3 nodes here are in green, but as you can see here, it's still installing everything that it needs for the lab. So you just give it some time, and it went very fast for some reason. And just go back to the topology view, my experiments, and just wait for it. And if I open back the lab here, we can see that we have gone through all these steps here. I started the experiment, I changed the profile, I decided, I picked the one that says OpenStack. I selected this one and then just click next. I kept for the OpenStack release the same one. And then I changed here to add another node that is the network manager one. Then I click next, and then I pick here different projects, groups, and clusters. We have seen this before. Next, and then you just click here, finish, because we didn't change anything in this part. After this, you can choose clicking the bottom part of the same page, and you will find these 3 tags for the topology, the list view, and the manifest. They're here. So here it shows you when the startup is pending, and then you scroll down and you see 2 of the nodes are ready, but one of them is still running, is still like booting. So after everything is ready, it has to say finish here. Besides that, you're going to receive an email where it says that OpenStack instance has completed its setup. So after that, you have to have your instances in this status. So it has to say finished. Oh, as I can see here, you have all them. This went very fast. So anyways, so everything is, the status is ready for the 3 nodes, and the startup is also finished. So if I go to the topology, as you can see here, you have 1, 2, and 3 all set up as we want. Then we go back to the lab and see there are the next steps. Yeah, so the next step is pretty much go to the OpenStack dashboard. And to do that, you click here, go back to the Cloud Lab, and you open your experiment. My experiment is this one. And then what I will do is, let me see, it's not, I think I have it in another tab open. Go to experiment. And it's this one. And still, for some reason, it says running, finished. It changed apparently. So let's just give it some time. This is finished as well. And let me just close this one so I'm not gonna get confused. And yeah, so then what we have to do is, let's just give you a try to this OpenStack dashboard. And of course, since it's not available yet, it's not gonna work. So we just go back and wait for it to get to change the status to ready and finished. You can also, if you go to the topology view, you can SSH to any of the machines. So for example, if I want to just SSH to one of these nodes, what you do is you just click on it and then you select shell. So you should be able to see your command line. Besides that, you can also use your SSH keys to SSH to your instance from your local machine. But if you feel comfortable doing it from here, that's also something you can do. So you can have access to the node here and then also to this other one. And we're still waiting for the controller to get ready. It seems like this is another experiment. Oh, this is, I think I know what happened here. I have another experiment that is for another student who has already has his or her experiment up and running. So if I check this one, I should see it's all ready. All right, so I have right now 3 students running the same, 2 actually, because this is mine. And this is another, and it's also all set up. And then if I check mine, this is testing one's mine. So mine is still loading, to still saying. So what I can do is I believe I can get access to the other experiments. For example, this one. And then let me just try to shell this one. Yeah, it seems like I can get access to it as well. So if I open the dashboard here, it should work. So username is usually admin and the password is the same that is from here. So we copy this and you keep default. Then you sign in. Okay, so it seems like this student has 1 instance up and running. So let me just create another one. So I'm gonna launch instance and I'm gonna call it testing. I don't need to put it in the description. I need 1 instance. The source, I will try this second one. Then the flavor, I'll try this in 1 small. And the networks, I need to use this one and this one, and I'm gonna keep the external one for access into it later. So I'm just gonna launch the instance. Sometimes what happens as well is you're gonna have like an issue here, or it's not gonna instantiate it because probably the image has some errors, or probably the flavor is not available, or maybe it's not available in the zone that you want to instantiate. So that's something that can happen. So you just need to try back and try a different image or a different flavor or in a different availability zone as well. That could also help. Oh yeah, so you can also check here all the options you have in terms of the networks, for example. So you have everything that you need is up and running. So let me go back to the compute, just the instances. And it's almost ready. So if I go back here, we just did this and we check the networks. We launched an instance. We changed the source. In this example, I used the Bionic server. For the flavor, I use the same one for now. The networks, I just use these two, and I left one of the networks, the external one. And the security group, I just kept it the way it is, the default security group. Now we need the information from this. So we are in that instance now. So I have my instance up and running. Is this server, this flavor, I will say this image. And then what I'm gonna do is I will give this information. This is what I need to SSH to it for my compute node from Cloud Lab. So following up here, it says running, I have this information, and then I go back to the control node in Cloud Lab. If I click this, all right, seems like it's everything up and running. So let me just go back to my experiments, and I will pick the one that I was working on, just this one. And I will use this controller shell here. And the lab description says that I have to do, I'm there right now, and I need to SSH to the machine. So I will go back here, and I will SSH, and then the name of the machine is Ubuntu, and then I can copy paste this IP address here, and then I just click, and then yes, and the password is the same from here. And this one, so let me just put that one and enter. And there I am in the machine now. So now what I'm going to do is I am in the machine, and I will say here, I just give you an option here. If you want to do it, you can SSH from your own computer, but it's not really necessary. You can do everything from the terminal that's given in Cloud Lab. So essentially, you don't need to go back to your computer and use your SSH keys to access to the instance. You can do it everything. That's what I'm gonna do right now. And this is what I just did here. This is in case you want to SSH from your own computer. So I need to do ifconfig here to know the IP addresses. So I don't need to do this in here. So let me just go back to the, all right, so I can do here ifconfig. Wait, let's see what is here. Okay, so I need to get into the control node. Okay, so I need to exit here, and then here I need to open the control node and just copy paste this as a screenshot for the assignment. And then I'm gonna just SSH again to the machine, and then I'm gonna paste the password from here, and I'm in the machine. After that, what we are gonna do is we're gonna prepare some of the command line interface to interact with the OpenStack command lines. So for doing that, you're gonna have to go to from your, just leave back to your, and let me just exit this one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to change my credentials to be in the root. So I'm gonna have all the necessary permissions to run the command lines. And then I copy paste this. So I'm gonna activate one of the files that I have already set up in the node. And this is gonna help me to install everything that I need for primarily using the OpenStack command line interface. And I'm gonna paste that here. And now I should be good to go. if I use any of the command lines from the OpenStack list, I should be able to see everything. So what happened now with Nova is about to deprecate. So that's why you're going to have this. Is the only service that is about to deprecate comparing with the other ones that we're going to be trying. But essentially what you're doing here is you are listing all the instances that you have up and running in your own cloud. So this is the one that it was already there. And this is the one that I just created. So that's why I see two. But for in your case, you're going to only see one probably. Then you can go back, and I'm not going to run all of these command lines, but for example, this one, if I use it, I'm going to have, you see an error because you need to have the ID for the network. So if you try to do this without changing the ID, you're going to have this issue. So in here, what I do is first I list all the networks that are available in OpenStack. So for doing that, I'm going to use OpenStack network list. And then after that, these are all the networks that I have available. And what I want to do now is I'm going to show all the networks that are in OpenStack. OpenStack network show, and then the ID. Let's use this one. And then you should be able to see some of the information in detail. You can play with all these command lines. You don't have to execute any of them for like the exercises for the submission, but essentially you can use some of these command lines and you can try it out to see what kind of output you can get from this from the OpenStack command line interface. You can do a lot of things that you can do similarly with other cloud services like AWS, for example. I'm not going to go over all this. You can just copy paste and pay attention when you have to specify like the IDs or the names or things like that. And we get to this point, this is where things gets more interesting. So what we just did was we created our own cloud in OpenStack. So for example, what we did was we created our own instances here. And all of this is your own cloud. And essentially you have it in Cloud Lab. So let's say in Cloud Lab, you have three computing nodes. They are bare metal machines, but you use basically those three devices to instantiate other computing nodes inside of them as well. So basically you can have a bunch of other instances here, different images, flavors, and with different IP addresses. And you can also manage your own cloud from here. And there is like a bunch of other details for like different services that OpenStack offers. And all of these are like for computing, volume, network, orchestration, database. All of these are like services that you can use. They also have an API access that, for example, you can connect this to other nodes that are like outside of Cloud Lab, for example. So you can use OpenStack for managing your own cloud. So basically OpenStack, I would call it, is the operating system of the cloud. You have OpenStack, and then inside OpenStack, you can have a bunch of other computing nodes and devices and instances as well, different flavors and images that you can start managing. Let's go back to here. And what we are going to do is we are going to, I'm going to specify here what we're going to do, because I also have asked, one of the students asked me what was exactly what we were doing and that it was confusing. But basically what we are going to do is we're going to create something called Intercloud API. And that's going to be only to display some of the instances that we have running in the experiment, and that how those can be accessible from an external cloud environment, basically. And to do that, we are going to use a RESTful web service. And I have a program written in Python and Flask that is kind of a couple of lines that can help you to create this RESTful web service to pretty much get all this information, or we can display pretty much the information about your instance. And some of the, I will say, like a figure here to describe what we are doing. And I put here to create the environment. First, what you do is you open the terminal, and then after that, you copy some of these command lines. The first one is to know the environment that you are running, so what version of Python you have. And then you see it's like a 3.10 version. So for this experiment, we need version 2. So that's the purpose why I'm asking you here to create a virtual environment, essentially. And then what we do is we update all the software that we have, and then we install the virtual environment. Click yes. And you create a directory that's called Cloud API. So if you do ls here, you're going to be able to see the folder you just created. Then you cd to the Cloud API folder, which is, you get into the folder, and then you activate the virtual environment. And you install everything that you need for Flask to work. And then you specified some of the HTTP configuration setting for authentication that you need. The version is important here. It downloads some packages. Some of them you already have then. And then what you do is you just activate everything. After you activate the virtual environment, you're going to see here that says Flask. I did everything here. And then I'm just showing you here a screenshot of what how it has to look like when your virtual environment is activated. After that, this is just an explanation of the code that I provided. There's also the code in Canvas. So what you can do is you just copy paste. And how you get this information. So you have to do this sudo, and then I think I specify here. So this is the code. Yes, so we need to do this sudo cat root setup admin, and then the file that I provided to generate this information. So this is the file. So you just do. Okay, so we have to do this outside of the virtual environment. So for do that, you can go back to the topology view and feel free to open another shell. And you see here, this one is the virtual environment. This is just a regular compute node. So you just click, oops, I shouldn't have done that. I need just this information, this command line here. And let me just paste here. And I see here I have all the information I need. So I go back to here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file that's called intercloud.py. So it's a Python file that's gonna do all the job for us. So to make things easier, I just put the file here. So whatever things you have to do is you can copy paste from the PDF, or you can just go through assignments and open the file and then open the code that I provide. So you just copy, and then what you do is you go back to here and you paste it. So you have pretty much everything what you need. For an explanation of everything, I also provided some of this, what every line does for us. So we have some basic secure user authentication, error handler, a function to do that. Some user authentication again here. Some of the fill in the blank spaces that you need for your environment information, and how we are using here some of the OpenStack services to pretty much list all the, in this case, instances that we have running in OpenStack. And lastly, here we have this port 8090 that we use for having like a port to an access pretty much to the information. Okay, let me just make this smaller and let me see if I have all the things that I need. So I think I need to check if the information is correct. Okay, so let me just click and I'm gonna just ls and beam intercloud again. And then let me just download this file and I'm going to open it in text file. So I can copy everything, including the formatting, because formatting is also important. It helps us to better understand what we are writing, and especially to be more like, I would say, understanding better what we're doing. We copy this into the file that we are creating here. And now we need to check if we have all the information displayed here right. So the domain is going to be the same. Let me just come back here, just close and open back the shell. And then I just need to do this, and it's default admin, default admin API. This is going to be different, I'm pretty sure. The password, let's change the password. And then the same is for the rest is pretty much the same. And then we saved the file. So now if I do ls, I will see I have a Python file here as well. Besides the Flask folder that I just used for like putting all the installation files that I needed before. I have the virtual environment. I go back here. We are already here. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna just run the application. And to do that, I just click in Python and then the name. So everything is working now, is up and running. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just close back the server. And then I just did this testing to see if the application was running and if the code was running. So let me just close. You do Control-C, and then you go back to the Flask root control environment. This is still the virtual environment. Let me just clean the, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run again ifconfig. And I need the information from here. So I need this one. So if you click here and see, this is the link that I need, and this is basically the public IP of the controller node. So that's what we need, and we need to copy that because we need that to get the information of the instance that we are trying to get access to. So let me just copy that. I'm just gonna put it in my file here just for saving it purposes, and then I'm going to clean up this one, and I'm going to run back the application. It's running again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the same IP address, and then I'm going to open a browser, a tab in my browser. I'm gonna put that, and then the port that I was using, and then I list the information. And yes, so I can see here the two different instances, one of this, and pretty much I have here these two instances. I can see them here, and that's mainly what I'm doing is I have in this, I would say inter-cloud services. I have a cloud inside a cloud, I would say. So I have resources here in Cloud Lab, and then what I'm doing is I have OpenStack installed in these bare metal machines, and then I'm managing my own cloud with different instances in using OpenStack essentially. So I have to install OpenStack in these bare metal machines here. And then after that, I can use OpenStack to manage my own cloud and my own instances. This is what we have done so far. And then this is just like an extra thing that you can also do, since I still have the extension, the Chrome extension here. This might be different. It depends on what browser you're using, but in my case, I'm using Chrome. So that's why I'm showing this example here. But if you had Firefox or any other browser, of course, the extension that you're going to use is going to be different. So I'm specifying here that the plugin is for Chrome. So it's just to get you an idea that you can also test this REST client. I will say, instead of having this application or extension in your browser, what you just did was you just created an application to do that for you. So let me just try to see if it's still working. And yes, it's still working. So I need to get the information from essentially this, and then from the port number 8390, and then I need to list the information. I'm just gonna send that. And let's see if it works. I'm not sure if it's gonna work, but headers, get. Let's see if that's the correct one, because 8090, it seems like it's the correct one. Let me just see. Maybe it's not working for some reason. Or can describe the or maybe this app is not working. Well, I tried a couple of times, like on one day I tested again, so let me see if it's working. Okay, I need this, and then I need 8090, and then I need to list that. I need to send. Yeah, there's cookies, but it's not responding here, but anyways, that's what I did here. I don't know to let me just show you here. Okay, let me see if I put the request as HTTP, maybe. Maybe that's the problem. And then I did body respond. And then 8090 list. I think I'm using the same. Yeah. Then oh yes, I'm getting the information now. There you go. Okay, we're good. Okay, so you pretty much do the same with a client testing tool. You're using a REST API as well here, with the difference that you have like UI where you can manage everything, like in terms of the information that you need from this particular IP address. Yeah, so you can see here, apparently this extension doesn't work as it should, but basically that's what I'm showing here. And yeah, I pretty much run everything with no issues at all. So let's go back here. I think we described this in the beginning, like you just need to explain that what happens when you add of course the network is going to change because you added like another node, a network manager node into the topology. So you're going to show that you can screenshot the first set of like I would say settings, and then you screenshot the second part, and that should be sufficient. You just need to understand what happens with the topology. And then we also did this part. You just run ifconfig in the controller node, and then you just show the MAC address, which is essentially all the information about the node, the IP addresses and stuff. And then this one is, if you go to the OpenStack, you can go to overview, and you can see all the details here, like how many instances you are running, the RAM, volumes, networks that you're using, and so many other things here. Like if you provide a screenshot of this, that should be sufficient. I think this was something that it was described in class, so just pay attention when you write these different architecture diagrams, in both physical and logical ones. And then when you have a private cloud with some, I would say, private cloud that is connected to a public cloud resources, you just make sure what kind of applications you're running. We're specifying here. So try to put to be as scripted as possible. There is no like right or wrong answer, but there are certain things that there are key features that you need to put for sure, but then you can get creative and put more like details in terms of like when you're using OpenStack and what other services that you can add to it. So it says here, like you can add some other services that are related to hardware, applications, security, and many other services that if you go to the OpenStack a website, you can read about them. And then this one, I will say this is gonna be like I will call it, it's a little bit challenging, but if you understood the idea of having bare metal machines in Cloud Lab and then installing everything with OpenStack within, and then having your own cloud, it would be the same thing. So what you need to do is you have to create an EC2 instance. And then of course you have information about your EC2 instance. And then you're gonna write a web service client. So I provided here web service client running in Python. So you might be able to use the same code, but of course you need to make certain changes because this is going to be different every time when you need to do like the API services when you get the information. So you need to do a little bit of research here on how you can request all this information from the control node. So what I would say is you are going to have the same OpenStack here in some instances. And then what we were doing is we were calling the information of the instances that you have in here. So what happened if you want to display the information from your EC2 instance? So let's say you have the same here, you're managing the instances, but you want to, and you're showing the information from here. What will happen if you want to display the information with AWS, with your AWS instance, basically? So it's going to be like an intercloud exercise. So you have your control node in here. And then we SSH to it a couple of times to recall the information. So I shell here, and then I installed the virtual environment. I did everything here. I added the information here. And then I connected to my OpenStack instance that I have in my own cloud. So I need to create everything from here to get the information from my EC2 instance that is in AWS, essentially. So instead of showing the information from here, I need to use everything from here to show the information from my EC2 instance that is located in AWS. And yeah, so that's the last question, and that should be it. I think we run everything together nonstop, and everything ran, and I didn't have any issues so far. So I hope this helps. Thank you.